It's Friday, September 16th. From inside the WTOP newsroom, this is the DMV Download. Brought to you by the men and women of Steamfitters Local 602. Get an estimate and learn more at steamfitters-602.org. Today, the man who police call the Potomac River Rapist is scheduled to go on trial later this year for raping and killing a woman in Georgetown more than 20 years ago. He's also linked to a second rape in D.C. and 6 others in Montgomery County. Today, Giles Warrick was in court, and John Domen tells us a judge is set to decide whether DNA evidence can be used against Warrick in his upcoming trial.
I mean, you can't understate how crucial the admissibility of that evidence is. It's the entire case. The prosecutors have a long list of expert witnesses they intend to call once this goes to trial, all based on the DNA evidence.
Then, are you a pickle fan? We tell you about the local restaurant that's putting pickles on a pizza and how it tastes. Thanks for joining us. I'm Megan Cloherty. Luke is off this week. He's accused of murder and a string of attacks in the 90s. But evidence which prosecutors consider crucial to their case against Giles Warrick is in question. He's scheduled to go on trial at D.C. Superior Court later this year for the rape and killing of 28-year-old Christine Murzian, who prosecutors say was abducted off the street in 1998 and dragged into a wooded area in Georgetown where her body was found. Here's the audio from a story that aired on NBC4 after it happened.
Sources say the victim was a Georgetown fellow here at the university for the summer. Those sources say the victim was at a party Saturday night with some girlfriends. Pedestrians walking near the Key Bridge on Canal Road Sunday afternoon found the body lying in a wooded area about 40 feet from the sidewalk. Police say they're not sure if the victim was killed near the site, which is a busy artery.
It's shocking a little bit. I mean, not a lot of that happens around here, that you hear about anyway. I lived actually 200 meters from there last school year, right up on Prospect Street. So, I mean, it's unnerving.
It's kind of scary. It's the type of thing where you walk around at night and then you don't really ever get concerned with things like that. At least I don't. It never would have been something that I would have thought about. But it just goes to show you have to be careful. You can't really be by yourself.
Now, prosecutors have said that DNA evidence taken by police in Warrick's home down in South Carolina will conclusively prove that he killed Murzian, and it'll link him to other attacks. But Warrick's attorney says that DNA evidence was not legally obtained. We turn now to John Domen, who has been watching this hearing today in D.C. That's still going on, John, as we are talking now. It's been a longer day than we expected. Tell us,
Yes.
I mean, what's going on down there, what has happened so far today, and what is the point of this hearing?
So typically all of these hearings have been, 15, 20 minutes tops, just sort of status updates, let everybody know how things are going.
Yeah.
This is the crucial one, though, because it is supposed to at least determine whether or not that DNA evidence will be admitted into court or not. The lawyer for Mr. Warrick is claiming that he felt coerced and compelled to give the DNA sample, that it wasn't as voluntarily done as authorities might lead you to believe. And so most of the morning has been spent talking about the surveillance process, how Mr. Warrick was surveilled by police in the days leading up to the DNA sample and right afterward, as well as we've gotten a little bit so far into the detective work and the genealogy involved in trying to, I guess, locate Mr. Warrick. The tracing of the sample from one of the rapes in Montgomery County and what relative that led to, and then how they were able to work from there.
What's interesting, too, is it's very likely when this trial goes forward that the judge will not let the jury know about these other crimes that he's accused of committing, right? So it would just be the murder that we're talking about in Georgetown in 1998. But the DNA evidence, I mean, it's consequential, because if this judge decides to not let the evidence in, it would then set a precedent for other cases to come. So, I mean, not only is it crucial to this case, but also going forward.
I mean, yeah, several cases, I think 6 rapes in Montgomery County are conclusively linked to this DNA. And then another rape in D.C. as well as this particular case that he's on trial for. They're all linked by the same DNA. And so this is, I mean, you can't understate how crucial the admissibility of that evidence is. It's the entire case. The prosecutors have a long list of expert witnesses they intend to call once this goes to trial, all based on the DNA evidence. So if Giles Warrick's lawyer can win this, it makes it much more difficult for the prosecution of this case to go forward. I'm not going to say it's impossible because we don't know, but from at this point, from the way that he was identified to the way he was, to the way he was linked and arrested, it's all hinging on that DNA.
We've heard there will be 2 witnesses called by the prosecution today. The court's heard from one of them. What are we expecting from the second, John?
So the first witness was a guy from Montgomery County Police, a detective who kind of leads the surveillance unit that was involved in going down to South Carolina and watching him for a little bit. We've gotten a few minutes with a DC police detective talking about the genealogy involved. That they took a sample from one of the rapes in Montgomery County, put it into a public database, and then traced that to a half nephew of Warrick's. So then they worked up and got to the father of Warrick. So it turns out that he has 5 half brothers.
Oh wow!
That Warrick was number 6, born to a different mother. I don't know if it was out of wedlock or something, and that sort of lines up with what the profile would be of the DNA sample of the suspect. He was also linked to some of the areas in Montgomery County at the time in terms of having a business and living in that area. So there's certainly a lot of connections that the DNA sample could lead you to, but the fact that his sample conclusively linked him to the cases, that's the key part right there.
Now, we just learned the prosecution is asking to admit the sound recorded by police when they were taking that DNA sample that's in question down in South Carolina. So apparently they're going to play that in court, and the judge will decide whether or not that can be admitted as well, and possibly use that to determine, whether the DNA can be entered into evidence. But after this hearing, John, and depending on how it goes, what's next in this case?
So at this point, we know that there is a murder trial scheduled to start just after Thanksgiving downtown here at the courthouse. And it's expected to be sort of a lengthy trial. And the goal was to get it in right after Thanksgiving, but then have it finished before Christmas. The DNA evidence, again, obviously, like we've said it several times already. I mean, it is the key factor here. This was all done through DNA and genealogy, and there's been a lot said and written about those kind of cases before.
Right.
If this evidence is admitted, it makes it a lot more easier for the prosecution to get their conviction. That's kind of where we are. It's going to depend on this hearing and how it goes, presuming that we get the answer that we're expecting out of it today.
It's hard to overstate. He has victims possibly up the I-270 corridor, and there could be more cases. So, I mean, this is like sort of the start of what might be a long judicial process for Warrick. John Domen headed back into the courtroom to see where this thing goes, and obviously we'll be covering it when the trial begins.
Yep.
And after the break, can you get pickled from a pizza? Apparently, one local restaurant is jumping on the pickled pizza trend. We not only tell you about it, we try it. Backed by the experience of its hardworking members, Steamfitters Local 602 is ready to take on your next commercial, heating, cooling, HVAC, or refrigeration project. Steamfitters Local 602 adds value to our community through its partnerships with local contractors and building owners, all while keeping the focus on improving the lives of its members and their families throughout the DMV. For work that's on time and on budget, go to steamfitters-602.org to schedule your next project. That's steamfitters-602.org. Steamfitters Local 602. Changing lives.
Thanks for listening to the DMV Download. If you like this show, give us 5 stars and leave us a review on Apple Podcast.
We love hearing from you guys, and your reviews really do help other listeners find this, our area's only in-depth daily local news podcast.
And thank you for making us a part of your day.
Okay, before we go, first of all, George Wallace is joining us in studio. Hi, Georgie.
Hi.
All right, so we are the proud recipients of a pickled pizza from Pizza Paradiso.
Mm-hmm.
And he's making this face. Okay, so here, let's listen to WTOP's Michelle Goldchain put this together so you can hear like the background on the pizza and what it's made of and all that.
So the pizza will showcase slow-cooked brisket, mustard sauce base, Swiss cheese, 1,000 Islands dressing drizzle, and then homemade half-sour pickles.
So what did our coworkers think?
That is delicious. And it is reminiscent of a Big Mac for me. And I'd go back for a second piece.
I'd say surprisingly solid.
So it kind of works, though, I must admit. I was not too optimistic when I tried it, but yeah, not too bad. I like it. I like it.
Okay, so George, I want your take. You didn't try it. Did you try it?
No.
What do you mean? Why are you making
I
it?
wouldn't try it.
What do you mean you wouldn't try it?
I don't like pickles. I don't like pickles at all. I want nothing to do with pickles.
Wow.
Is that bad? Is that wrong?
I did
I'm
not
sure
know
there
that
are other
about
people. Well, there's a lot that you don't know about me. But that one thing, I take pickles off of everything.
Really?
Yeah. And I love pizza. So if you're going to, there's no way I would have a pickle on my pizza because that's just not good for anybody.
Well, right. I was one of the people who didn't like it.
Right.
Because I was expecting it to taste pickly.
But you like pickles.
I do like pickles.
So you were hoping for the pickly taste.
I didn't know about the combo. I didn't know about pickles on a pizza. I wasn't expecting to like it. But then I tried it, and it didn't even taste like pickles. It tasted very like mellow.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't a dill pickle. It almost was like a veggie pizza.
Okay, well,
Does that change your mind?
No.
All right. Well,
is this wrong? Like, is this wrong that I don't like pickles? There are other people that don't like pickles.
There are people I feel like people have very strong opinions about pickles.
I agree with that.
Just like olives.
Yeah.
What's another? Cilantro.
Oh, that's a good call. Okay.
There's a couple foods out there where you're like, people feel very strongly.
For no reason.
White chocolate. People feel very strongly about white chocolate.
That's a whole other conversation. Yeah.
But pickles, usually, I feel like people are, for the most part, okay with.
So you're fine with pickles on?
I'm not fine with pickles on a pizza. I didn't really like it.
No, we've established that. But burgers and things like that, you're fine with pickles.
Yes.
But not what about the dill out of the jar? Huge jar of pickles.
Yep.
You're good with those too?
I'm okay with those.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm glad we got to the bottom of that.
Did we? I think we did. Yeah. Well, now people are going to come at me.
How could you not like pickles?
What do you say? Don't at me about the pickles?
Don't at me, bro.
Yeah.
And that'll do it for us on the DMV download for this week. We are sponsored by Steamfitters Local 602. Our managing editor is Craig Schwab, and our music is by Real World. Leave us a review and rate our show if you get the chance, and press that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. You can become a VIP member at dmvdownload.com. The DMV Download is a product of WTOP News. Listen on 103.5 FM in the D.C. area, 107.7 FM in Virginia, 103.9 FM in Frederick, online at WTOP.com, and on the WTOP News app. Have a good weekend.